Dear colleagues, let me introduce the research, Social-Psychological Portrait of IT Entrepreneur in Russia. It was conducted on the basis of Center of Socio-Cultural Research of High School of Economics in Department of Psychology. Let's face the problem. During the digital transformation from economics, IT entrepreneurs becomes a desired pattern for the younger generation. Business depends on graduates' new level of competence and activity. And entrepreneur is a driving force of economic development and social progress. So it's interesting to know what social psychological characteristics and cultural preferences of IT entrepreneur, what motivation for creating business, attitudes to religion, art, family values, what spiritual values of modern technological businessmen. So let's start with theoretical background. There is many research on that. I want to focus just on one of them, that traditional and IT entrepreneurs comparison. They have mutual characteristics because traditional entrepreneur is like previous generation before the IT entrepreneurship becomes more desirable and more popular. So what is mutual characteristics? High expectation of parents regarding the achievement of the child. Inadequate emotional connection with parents. It's still distant. It was distant from the childhood. Self-provision. And IT entrepreneurs and traditional ones are workaholics, perfectionists, independent and charismatic leaders. They create organization is a kind of family replacement, and they unconsciously avoid emotional pain and emotional involvement in relationship with people. And there are differences between two kinds of entrepreneurs. Traditional, from lower social level, often grew up without father. They self-made. They build the business on the need to survive. They see themselves in the center of the company, and that's why they take intuitive decisions. They work hard, and living in employment is traumatic for them. They build centralized structure and have dominant management styles. And IT entrepreneurs, they come from middle-class family. Both parents work and engage in development and education of the child, but didn't provide emotional safety and contact. So work is a game. Decisions made rationally. They see themselves as a part of wide network, global network, and they see themselves as an important center of this network, central actors. They leave project quite calmly because they are full of new ideas, and from the childhood they create their own circle of friends, quite close. So we see now the transformation of traditional entrepreneurs into IT entrepreneurs. It's evolution of entrepreneurship from survival and creation of product from nothing to continuous improvements of product, multi-level service and perfectionism, which is expected during the digital transformation of economy. And there are two main questions all over the world in all research. Are there certain personality characteristics and attitudes that predict the likelihood of the entrepreneurship? And what makes success of entrepreneur? What personality traits can predict it? That's why in this research, in this study, we wanted to clarify topics as social psychological characteristic of IT entrepreneur in Russia, cultural and value preferences, attitudes to family, spiritual values, art, education to people, motivation for creating business, what kind of decision making they do, traditional or not, study the internal and external independence, and lack of conformity to social influence, or opposite. So we have three hypotheses. First, IT entrepreneurs has an internal need for dynamic, purposeful activity to implement their ideas. and this quality determines their cultural, spiritual, and social values. The motivation for creating and development business is intangible, so money is not the main thing. And third hypothesis, IT entrepreneurs are not conformable to social influence and social norms. Our sample is 14 owners of IT businesses personally leading their companies for more than 3 years. It's all men, 100%, from 27 to 35 years old with higher education. It's convenient sampling. All interviews were conducted in Moscow region. Those entrepreneurs are originally, most of them from regions of Russia, different regions. Method, we conducted semi-structured deep interview by the method of Belanovsky. Data analysis was conducted with qualitative thematic analysis, recommendations, and we took one problem-oriented interview. We have interview plan like introduction, education, motivation to create business, self-esteem, faith and attitudes, family and marriage, portrait of the family, attitudes to family, and art, attitudes to mass art, visual art, and free time. Data analysis was conducted by the method of Brown and Clark, thematic qualitative analysis. It takes 6 steps. When we gather the data, we look through, we generate initial codes, search for themes, reviewing the themes, and define and naming the themes, and create a report. So let's go to results. This is a final thematic map with 2 main themes and sub-themes that we found. The main triggers, the main topics, the most important in our research was passion for business of IT entrepreneurs and personal traits. So passion for business include experimental mood, attitude to mood, independence, education, leadership style, mostly servant leadership, and personal traits, it's openness to change, bad, good attitudes, self-actualization, need to belong, and independence. So passion for business, it's inner aspiration of our participant to reach their goals, to implement ideas in reality. As one of them said, create a good team doing great things. And personal traits is characteristic of participant, which are well seen by others and were shown by themselves during the interview. So we conclude that we describe this characteristic in the portrait of the Russian IT entrepreneurs. First trait that we found is internal independence. Our businessman is followed by own principles and motives. He doesn't need any external stimulation. Model of such people, I wanted, I made it. He is optimistic. He considers his life changes better than others. He believes in his competency. He really resistant to failures, even big one. Life is always what you think of it, he says. So they don't give up. The failures lead to mobilization of all his resources. He is practice-oriented. He perceived the world as a present and realistic. No air castles. He is quiet and he is not afraid of future. He is open to changes and experimental mood. He is able to catch all possibilities, all opportunities around him. And even in any adverse situation, he can force for better, to work for better. So he prefers functional management, decision-making process, and create new projects without any financial investment. He has high self-projection, high requirements to people and himself. He expected same quality of knowledge and education and equally treat people like partners. He is not comfortable to regarding public norms. He doesn't lead them. which is different from foreign research on this topic. So our future businessman doesn't come under parents' influence since his childhood. He chooses the employees on the basis of his own experience. He perceives TV as a danger and generate own opinions on news, on everything very independently. He doesn't accept someone's point of view on art. In this area, he made decisions himself all the time and doesn't need advices. With children and with wife, he builds a partnership, partner relationships. Our experts said that with people are not comfortable because they are inclined to make decisions themselves. They decide what's right and set own rules. But they really good inside the system and organizations, but feel distant and independent from external factors and opinion. And he constantly look for new purposes for himself. As soon as he achieves goals, he creates new one. He doesn't plan any retirement. So we have several conclusions. First, IT entrepreneur has internal independent demand for the active, purposeful activity to implement his ideas, and this trait impacts the value attitudes. The money is not important for him. Basic motivation is self-realization. And entrepreneurs, Russian IT entrepreneurs, are mostly not conformal to social influence and social norms. This characteristic, the last one, that they prefer independent position due to social norms and social influence, is different. But all others are really fit all requirements and expectation about IT entrepreneur all over the world. So Russian entrepreneurs is not that different. We have several references about 21st century of entrepreneurial leadership, and this is my contact. And thank you for your attention. Hope it was very interesting to you, as for us.